So I have this awesome area in my yard that's covered in pine trees. It's in shade all day, morning, noon, night. I suppose it would be in shade at night. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but cut that. Underneath these pine trees, it's beautiful. There's a nice breeze that rolls through. I've got my hammock up here. Most mornings you can find me up here drinking a cup of coffee. Most nights you'll find me in my hammock drinking a beer. But the long and short of it is this is a great area and I love to spend time up here as much as I can. The problem is that since we're under pine trees, it's nearly impossible to get grass to grow under here. There are other trees in here. There's an oak tree and there's a maple tree. I think this is yep. Come on, brain. You got it. Let's go. Come on. Put the words together. This is a elm tree. There we go. But most of the area is covered in pine needles, as to be expected when you're underneath a pine tree. I want to go through today as to how I'm going to try to get some grass to grow underneath these trees. I'll go through the different tools that I use to clean up the area, how I'm going to prep the area, and then what type of seed I'm going to use to actually get grass to grow, or at least get grass to grow. I've raked this out over the spring, but the pine trees, they're the tree that keep on giving. So I have quite a bit of pine needles yet and whatever these little nuggets are that end up on the ground. So the first step here is let's clean up the yard. I'm going to use my tow behind sweeper for my tractor, give the rake a little break, give my back a little break, and hopefully we can get this area cleaned up for the next step. Well, the last thing I want to do before I clean up here is get some of these low-hanging branches down. Generally, my rule of thumb is I can touch the branch standing up, it should probably go. So I'm going to trim a few of these back, and then we'll get to raking the area. Raking. Then we will get back to raking. Raking. Who says raking? Well, I see you there. Oh, and your friend too. All right, well, I've trimmed up some of the trees around here, hoping that cutting them back a little bit will help some of the morning sun and the evening sun can get through, but still the midday sun is blocked. It's about noon right now, and you can tell I'm still in pretty good shade. The sun is directly above me. Still good and shady. I'm going to clean up these branches, go throw them on the fire pit, and then what am I going to do? I'm probably going to go eat lunch. Tuna. But then I'm going to go get the tractor. My dreams of not having to rake were dashed. The pine needles and the rest of the junk was just too deep into the grass, so there was no hope for the sweeper. So I had to take out the rake anyways and rake it up into nice little lines, and then it picked it up, no problem. I ended up with about 2 trailerfuls of pine needles and junk that I got out of here. It's it's not perfect, but it's certainly better than it was, and I'm not going to let perfection get in the way of progress. So we'll move forward. But I think we're going to call it for today. The air quality is still terrible, and it's not getting much cooler. So I think we'll find another day to take on the rest of this. We are back on a beautiful morning, much nicer today. I can actually breathe, and not nearly as hazy as it once was. Okay, well, campground area is looking pretty good still. Might do a little bit more cleanup on it, but I think we're ready for the next step. My plan here is to now take a core aerator and run that through the area, poke a bunch of holes into the ground and kind of break up the dirt. It's pretty compacted under here, so I'm going to try to break it up, and hopefully that will make grass seed a little more conducive to grow and also help a little bit with what I want to do to amend the soil. So I've tested the soil up here, and it is actually slightly acidic. Now, it's not because that there are pine needles on the ground. It's because the soil is actually acidic up here. So that's, before anyone tells me that pine needles don't make the ground acidic, I know. I would show you the pH reader and show you that it is slightly too acidic, but I broke the pH reader, so you're gonna have to take my word for it. So what I'm gonna do is I have a big wood pile down there that's ready to be burnt. So I'm gonna go light that on fire, get it burning nice and hot, get as much ash out of it as possible, and then I'm gonna bring that up here and use that as my additive to raise the pH in the soil. You might be asking yourself, Emery, why don't you just go buy a fertilizer or buy some sort of additive off the shelf from the store? It's because it's free. And I like free. And free is easy. I don't have to go to the store. I can stay right here. All I have to do is light that on fire. I don't have to drive to the store. I don't want to drive to the store. This is a really long story about a store. You get it. So I've got this old screen door hanging around, and it's perfect for acting like a screed for the ash that I'm going to put in the wheelbarrow. I don't want any of the big chunks of charcoal or the random pieces of metal, whatever else junk that's in here. So I'm going to run it through this, and hopefully I can get some nice filtered ash, and I don't have to worry about raking up a bunch of junk when I put it down on the ground. All right, well, this screen door did a great job of cleaning up the ash. This is kind of nice and clean. Pretty much exactly what I'm looking for. No screws, no charcoal, no random junk that I probably threw in the fire pit. So this is going to work great. Well, I don't need this just yet, so I'm going to park it under a tree for safekeeping and throw a tarp over it, just to make sure that no rain or ash thieves. Gotta watch out for those ash thieves. Steal my ash. All right, well, the core aerator worked great. I poked like, let's say 10,000 holes into the grass, so hopefully that breaks it up enough. I didn't want to use a tiller and just totally wreck this place, so that's why I opted for the core aerator. I'm gonna go grab the spreader and I'm gonna go fill that up with the ash that I got from the bonfire, and I'm gonna do some passes around here, a pretty light pass to start with. All right, well, we've got the hose fixed finally, so now I can get some water up here. I'm gonna let this run for a little while and really kind of soak in the ash into the ground. As you can see, I covered most of the area with ash. Some of the areas that grow a little better, I decided not to put any ash on. And hopefully that, combined with opening up the ground a little bit more, will make it a little easier for me to grow grass up here. This is kind of my hypothesis. It might be right, it might be wrong, but I'm gonna try, and that's the best I can do. And if it doesn't work, well, I had fun doing it. Well, it's the next morning. We had a little bit of rain last night, not as much as we should have had, but that's all right. We had the sprinklers running for most of the night. So the ash that I put down yesterday, that had a chance to absorb into the ground, and you can't see it anymore. I think the sprinklers did their job. So I'm feeling pretty good about the ground up here being ready for seed. I don't think I could ask for a better day to put down grass seed. It's nice and cloudy, like 74, as opposed to the 95 and smoke that I had the other day. Smoke is not a real forecast. Like partly cloudy, sure. Hazy, maybe. Not smoke. Never smoke. So you're probably curious as to what grass I want to use up here. My choice up here is to use a dense shade variety. You know, that makes sense. We're under dense shade. But the other thing that I like to do up here is also add clover to it, but not just regular clover, actually specifically microclover. I like to use microclover because it grows low and it doesn't flower. And the reason why I like that it doesn't flower is that it means less bees in the ground. That's one of the reasons why most off-the-shelf weed killers kill clover, is because people don't like bees in their grass. And I get it. I've got little guys running around the backyard, and the last thing I want is someone to get stung in the foot. But it grows anywhere. Like, it doesn't really care. It supplements the grass. It'll grow under shade. It looks pretty nice. It's not high maintenance. So I'm going to mix in microclover with my dense shade mix, and that's what I'm going to spread up through here. I've done that in previous properties. I've been really happy with it, and I'm hoping that that's the ticket for up here as well. These are the same grass seed, they're just 2 different bags. Apparently they used a different dye. And we'll add in our microclover. And we'll give that a good stir. Something of note though, microclover and mini clover are different. Mini clover will flower, microclover will not. So if you are interested in buying clover for your yard, make sure that you notice the difference and you don't buy mini clover when you really wanted microclover. All right, I have the grass seed down. That 1 bag of grass seed and that 1 bag of microclover covered this area just about perfectly. I have maybe about 800 square feet up here, which I think 1 bag is rated for 800 square feet. I wouldn't consider this a new yard, nor would I consider it overseeding. It's kind of in the middle, so I applied it fairly heavily. The birds are my enemy up here as well. They like to munch on my seed. So I'm going to put more grass seed down than I actually need just to offset the fact that birds will eat my grass seed. It's kind of my fault. I invite them up here. There's bird houses everywhere, so I can't expect them not to eat my grass seed. That's fine. I wish they would pay me for it. They never do. Goddamn freeloading birds. All right, well, we're as far as we can go. That's the downside to making a video about growing grass, is that I have no epic conclusion for you to give you just yet. I will follow up, I'll make a video, or at the very least I'll put a comment down below. But I'm curious about what you think. Was this worth it? Did the ash do anything? Did I just waste my time doing that? Is it a futile attempt to grow grass underneath this shade canopy? Or do you have any tips or tricks about growing grass under a shade canopy? This project is ongoing. I am not done by any means. From the research I've done, getting grass to grow underneath a shade canopy is a years-long process. So I'm hoping that this is a good step in the right direction. But if you know something that I don't, I'd love to hear it. I'm not a pro. I'm just a guy with a tractor and a dream. I'm just doing what I think is going to work best based off of what I've seen in the past. If you like this type of content, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe. I've got about 2 acres of property, most of which is an overgrown garden and old projects that were kind of left to rot. This place needs a lot of love, and I'm ready for loving. You can't say that. So we hope to see you next time at the Suburban Sanctuary. Now, I'm going to take a nap.